chosen ones, the truth about why you always feel one step behind, top 1% secret. Have you ever looked around and wondered why, no matter how hard you try, you always feel like you're one step behind? As if life is a race you didn't know you signed up for, and somehow everyone else got a head start. You're not lazy, you're not lacking, you're not broken, you're not even late. But what if I told you that this feeling, this persistent, invisible weight that whispers you're behind is actually proof that you're one of the chosen ones? That this internal tension is not failure, but a signal. That the slow path you're on was designed for the rarest kind of transformation. And that the reason you feel like you're falling behind is because you're not meant to follow the same map as everyone else. This world is built on timelines. The system is obsessed with milestones. Graduate by this age, succeed by that age, marry by then, own this by now. And when your life doesn't align with those timelines, the pressure becomes suffocating. You start questioning your worth, your purpose, your destiny. But here's the truth, that only the top 1% of the awakened truly grasp your path was never meant to be linear. It's not late, it's not behind, it's divine. And the delay is not a defect, it's a design.
Click subscribe to this channel to get more profound spiritual lesson.
You're not behind, you're being prepared. You see, the chosen ones are not ordinary souls. We are not here to fit into the mold. We are not here to climb ladders built by systems of illusion. We are here to dismantle those ladders entirely and build new paths that others will one day follow. But you can't build a new road while walking someone else's. And that's the inner conflict. Your soul knows it's here for something higher. But your mind has been programmed to measure yourself against the timelines of people who were never meant to walk your path. And so you feel behind, because you're comparing your becoming to someone else's performance. Most people live on the surface. They measure success in visible wins, money, status, followers, fame. But chosen ones are different. We are being trained in the invisible realms. Our growth doesn't look flashy. It looks like silence. It looks like being overlooked. It looks like everyone else moving ahead while we sit in the unknown. But that unknown is sacred. That delay is holy. Because while the world is celebrating speed, the universe is burying you like a seed deep in the soil, unseen, and so that your roots can grow strong enough to hold the magnitude of your destiny. Let me ask you something that might change your life. What if your greatest moments are still hidden because the world isn't ready for your depth? What if your delay is actually the universe protecting your purpose from premature exposure? Think about it. If you had everything you wanted the moment you asked for it, would you have been ready? Would your nervous system have been prepared to hold that level of visibility, responsibility, abundance? Would your character have been able to sustain the weight of your calling? The truth is, the reason chosen ones feel one step behind is because they're walking a longer arc. You're not being trained for a season. You're being trained for a legacy, and legacy cannot be microwaved. It must be cultivated slowly, quietly, in the dark. You are being carved, stripped, refined. Every delay has been a lesson. Every detour has been a redirection. Every closed door has been divine intervention. Because the universe is not interested in your speed. It's interested in your stability. And here's the wild part: when your time comes, you won't just catch up. You'll leap forward in ways that make no logical sense. That's the power of divine timing. It's not fair, it's not predictable, but it is precise. And when alignment hits, years of perceived delay can be undone in a single moment of breakthrough. But until then, your job is not to rush. It's to trust the timing, the silence, the setbacks, to believe so deeply in your path that you no longer need to compare it. But comparison is the poison of the chosen. It is the trap that keeps us doubting our worth. Because the moment you believe you're behind, you start making decisions from fear. You chase things that aren't yours. You say yes to things that don't align. You shrink your vision to fit into a timeline that was never meant for your soul. And in doing so, you delay yourself even further, not because you're not capable, but because you've forgotten who you are. You are not here to follow. You are here to forge. And forging takes time. It takes solitude. It takes faith in the unseen. It takes being misunderstood. Because the blueprint you're carrying isn't from this world. It's ancient, it's sacred, and it requires a kind of patience that only the awakened can understand. So if you've been feeling like you're behind, breathe. You're not late. You're just early on the path that leads to something extraordinary. You're at the part of the story where the hero is still being shaped, and no one claps for that part. No one sees that part. But that's the part that determines everything. So I ask you, with all the love in the world, can you stop running someone else's race long enough to remember your own rhythm? Can you let go of the illusion of being behind and embrace the truth of being called? Can you trust that what feels like a delay is actually divine orchestration? Because once you see the truth, you'll never feel behind again. The hidden training ground: why your delays are actually spiritual promotions. What if the very moments in your life that you've labeled as setbacks, delays, or failures were actually spiritual promotions in disguise? What if the universe, in its infinite intelligence, has been putting you through sacred initiations not to punish you, but to prepare you? You see, most people will never understand what the chosen ones go through because it doesn't look like success on the surface. It looks like silence. It looks like loss. It looks like being passed over again and again. But what's really happening is a kind of training that can't be taught in books or classrooms. It's the kind of training that happens in the hidden places where no one sees you, no one claps for you, and no one understands the pressure you're under. And that pressure is not random. It's refinement. You are being shaped into a vessel that can hold something so powerful, so pure, that the slightest crack of ego, insecurity, or premature exposure would destroy it. So the universe delays your spotlight until your structure is strong enough to carry the weight of your assignment. This is what the top 1% of spiritually awakened people know: delays are not denials. They are divine disguises. They are the universe's way of saying, you're not missing out. You're being fortified. A chosen one's life is never average because their mission is never average. We don't get to skip the furnace. We don't get to skip the wilderness. We don't get to skip the long nights of questioning, the sudden losses, or the feeling of being forgotten. Why? Because our future requires a foundation that cannot be shaken, and foundations are not built in the spotlight. Me said D. They're built in the shadows, in silence, in storms. They're built when everything is stripped away and all we're left with is the voice within the voice that says, keep going, even when nothing makes sense. So, if your life has felt like a series of delays, I invite you to reframe it. You're not stalled, you're in spiritual boot camp. Every setback has been a lesson in trust. Every closed door has been a redirection toward alignment. That every moment you felt behind was actually a moment where you were being held back, not to stop you, but to save you. Because premature success is one of the most dangerous things that can happen to a soul not yet ready to carry it. Let me ask you something deep. What if you had been given what you were asking for? In the exact moment you wanted it, would you have been able to hold it? Not just physically, but energetically. Would your nervous system have been able to bear the pressure? Would your ego have stayed grounded? Would you have known who to trust, how to spend your energy, how to protect your peace? That's why the delay was necessary. Because the universe loves you too much to let you self-destruct in the name of speed. It would rather you feel left out for a season than lost forever. It would rather you be lonely now than completely disconnected from your truth later. That's the hidden grace in the waiting. That's the sacred gift in feeling one step behind. And here's the most powerful part. While everyone else is chasing quick wins, you are building eternal impact. While others are sprinting toward what looks good, you are being shaped into something that is good. Real, rooted, unshakable. And when your time comes and you won't need to scream for attention. You won't need to force doors open. Your energy will speak. Your presence will command rooms. Not because you rushed, but because you rested in the process of becoming. You are not behind. You are in the in-between, the sacred middle space, where the old version of you is dissolving and the new version is still being born. And in that space, patience is your superpower. Stillness is your strategy. Faith is your fuel. Because the chosen ones don't rise on the world's schedule. We rise when the timing is divine. So stop apologizing for your pace. Stop shrinking your process just to fit into someone else's timeline. You are not here to match the rhythm of the world. You are here to remind the world of a deeper rhythm. One that honors timing over urgency, depth over speed, and purpose over pressure. You are not stuck. You are being stabilized. And once you understand that, the entire game changes. You no longer chase what isn't yours. You no longer fear missing out. You begin to trust the unfolding of your life with a peace that confuses people. You begin to walk with a quiet power that cannot be explained but can always be felt. The divine delay, why you're being protected from what you're not ready to carry yet. There's a moment in every chosen one's journey when the silence becomes deafening. You've done the work, you've prayed, visualized, aligned your energy, followed every intuitive nudge, and yet nothing seems to move. No breakthrough, no spotlight, no confirmation that all your inner work is paying off. It can feel like betrayal, like life has passed you by. But this is the part that most people never realize. that delay you're experiencing is not a punishment, it's a protection. You are not being denied, you are being shielded. And what you think is stagnation is actually the divine holding back what you're not ready to carry yet. Let that sink in, because this is one of the deepest spiritual truths you'll ever come to understand. The universe is not transactional. It doesn't operate on the rules of hustle culture or linear logic. It works with alignment. And alignment means your external reality can only expand to the level your internal structure can sustain. So if your dream hasn't arrived yet, it's not because you failed, it's because something in you is still being fortified. And the delay is not a block. It's a blessing in disguise. Ask yourself this: if everything you've ever wanted showed up tomorrow, if the platform, the money, the attention, the influence, the power, if it all landed in your lap right now, then would you know how to hold it without losing yourself? Could you protect your energy? Could you maintain your integrity? Could you still hear your own soul beneath the noise of everyone else's opinions? This is the part that humbles even the strongest among us. Because the truth is, many of us are asking for things that our current selves are not prepared to protect. We're praying for visibility while still being wounded by the need for validation. We're manifesting abundance while still carrying scarcity in our nervous system. We're asking for leadership roles when we haven't yet learned how to lead ourselves through our deepest shadows. And so, the divine waits, not because it's cruel, but because it's wise, because it knows that premature blessings can feel like curses, because it understands that the chosen ones are not here for temporary highs, we are here for eternal impact. And eternal impact cannot be built on fragile foundations. So what feels like being one step behind is actually the divine saying, I'm not going to let this destroy you before it can elevate you. It's the universe whispering, I love you too much to let success arrive before you're strong enough to handle it. And once you really get that, you stop begging for speed and start surrendering to readiness. There's a reason sacred temples take years to build. There's a reason ancient initiations lasted decades. The deeper the destiny, the longer the preparation. And if you are feeling hidden, overlooked, or left behind, it may be because your calling requires a kind of inner mastery that shortcuts simply cannot deliver. You are not being delayed. You are being deepened. This is your training ground. These quiet seasons where no one sees you, where your efforts seem to go unnoticed, these are the moments where your soul is being sculpted, where your intuition is being sharpened, where your faith is being tested not so it breaks, but so it builds. This is where your character is forged in the fire of invisibility. Because when your time finally comes, you won't just be known, you'll be undeniable. But here's the paradox. The only way to be ready for that undeniable moment is to let go of needing it. You need to trust so completely in divine timing that your worth is no longer tied to outcomes, that your peace is no longer dependent on progress, that your joy exists not only in the arrival, but in the becoming. That's how you know you're ready, when you no longer need the dream to validate your identity. When your identity is so rooted in truth that even if the dream never shows up, you still know your life is sacred, your presence is powerful, and your path is on purpose. So, if you're in the waiting, I challenge you to shift your perspective. Instead of asking, why is it taking so long? Ask, What is this delay protecting me from? Instead of saying, I should be further along, start saying, I'm exactly where I need to be to become who I'm meant to become. Because that's the truth, and it's the kind of truth that sets your soul free. You are not one step behind. You are one step deeper. And that depth will take you further than speed ever could. The world tells you to hurry. The divine tells you to heal. The world says catch up. The divine says rise up when you're truly ready. When it's finally your time, you won't compete, you'll command. There's a quiet power that comes when a chosen one finally steps into alignment, not by force, not by chasing, but by becoming. And when that moment arrives, when the divine timing clicks into place like a cosmic lock opening with the right soul frequency, everything changes. You no longer move like the world. You no longer strive like the world. You no longer compete. You command, not from ego, but from essence. Not to be seen, but because you've finally remembered who you are, and when you remember, the world remembers too. This is the final phase of the chosen one's journey, the emergence. And it's not loud, it's not performative, it's not desperate, it's inevitable. Because once you've passed through the fire of waiting, through the shadows of not enoughness, through the long nights where you questioned everything and still chose to rise, then you become something unstoppable. Not because of what you do, but because of what you radiate. And that radiance can't be manufactured. It can't be faked. It comes from the depth you've earned in the delay. That's why, when it's finally your time, you'll notice something strange. You won't care about validation anymore. You won't measure your worth by likes, views, titles, or applause. You'll walk into rooms and feel no need to prove anything. You'll speak less, but say more. You'll occupy space without shrinking and without needing to dominate. Because your energy will do the speaking. That's the command. Not a command over others, but a command over your own being. The kind of command that comes from alignment, embodiment, and truth. You see, the ones who rise too quickly often burn out. They were elevated by external momentum, not internal mastery. But you were buried to grow roots, held back to grow strong, refined through resistance. Your rise will be slower, yes, but it will be sustainable. And once you rise, you will not fall. Because your foundation was built in the dark, where no one clapped, and that foundation is now unshakable. But let me ask you something that may shift your entire perception. What if the very reason you felt behind all these years is because you were never meant to chase the world's version of success? What if your true power was meant for a stage so sacred, so rare, that it hasn't even been built yet? What if you are the one meant to build it? This is why chosen ones never quite fit in. It's why you've always felt slightly out of sync. It's not because you're flawed, it's because your frequency is meant to lead, not follow. And true leaders aren't manufactured in popularity contests. They are formed in solitude. Your solitude didn't mean isolation. It meant preparation. A deep, divine pause before the emergence. And now, you're starting to feel it, aren't you? A subtle shift in your energy. That inner knowing that something is coming. That calm confidence that no longer needs to rush. You're almost there, and when the moment comes, you'll know. You won't have to announce it, you'll just be it. When it's your time, you won't compete. You'll walk into the room and the atmosphere will shift. Not because you tried to shift it, but because you are the shift. People won't just listen to your words, they'll feel your frequency. They'll sense the depth, the integrity, the fire that doesn't burn out. And that is what the waiting was for. That is what the delay was building. So if you still feel one step behind, let me remind you one more time, you're not behind. You're becoming. And when you finally arrive, you won't be chasing the world. The world will be drawn to you not because you're loud, but because you are light. You were never late. You were just on a different timeline, one that leads not to imitation, but to impact. Not to noise, but to legacy. And your legacy begins the moment you stop running and start rising.